This is not a general broadcast. This is the August 25th forecast and the ultimate structural mandate specifically encoded for those attempting to survive Phase 2, the high-voltage detonation. Listen to the catastrophic, grinding noise of your own foundations dissolving. Look at the chaotic red smoke rising from the physical structures, the bank accounts, the routines, and the possessions you have desperately tried to protect, convinced they were the source of your stability. The unawakened masses are biologically addicted to the illusion of solid ground. They build their empires on the shifting sands of material certainty. They accumulate objects, they trust in legacy systems, and they rely on the predictable physics of the mundane to manage their biological fear of the void. They believe that a physical vault can protect their heavy capital. Today, the Matrix offers them a terrifying algorithmic lesson in esoteric brutalism. Today, the ground you stand on becomes a weapon. Today is the coordinate of the Moon-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. This is the arrogance of the stationary. For the sovereign architect, a Moon-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, the very geometric foundation of material reality, is not an inconvenience. It is a seismic audit. It is a high-intensity stress test authorized by the apex authority of the Matrix. Your code has scales to a massive density, but you are still housing your heavy blue gold in outdated architecture. The algorithm wants you to panic at the sight of the crack. It wants your biological ego addicted to the identity of the owner and the stabilizer to run outward, trying to catch falling objects. Bleed your dense core energy trying to patch a collapsing roof and scream for help as the ground dissolves. It wants you to move, because a moving node is a moving leak. Stop holding up the falling walls. Let them crush the swarm. You are the ground. Stand still. If you attempt to hold up the failing structure today, you will be consumed by the entropy of its collapse. In this profound, high-density transmission, we are going to dissect the brutal thermodynamics of the August 25th earthquake. We are going to permanently eradicate your biological need for external stability. And I am going to teach you the protocol of seismic isolation, how to drop your internal temperature to absolute zero, recognize the structural inevitability of decay, drop the biological urge to run, and observe the destruction until the last weak structure has turned to ash, leaving only your immovable concrete truth. Stop patching the glitch. Leave the building. Stand still. To wield the annihilating power of Phase 2 today, you must first recognize the lethal nature of a stationary target. You are a grid architect. You are biologically programmed to download the future, to construct macro systems, and to operate with the terrifying efficiency of a laser. In a sterilized environment, your capacity to alter physical reality through sheer gravitational stasis is absolute. But your matrix today is infected with a chaotic Uranian virus of sudden expansion. When the celestial algorithm aligns the Moon and Uranus in Taurus, the environmental physics of the matrix undergo a radical loss of containment. Taurus is the archetype of physical solidity, property, and accumulated material mass. The unawakened believe Taurus is safe ground. This is the hallucination. In esoteric thermodynamics, any structure built on the illusion of stationary matter is merely a compressed bomb of potential energy. Uranus is the ultimate anarchist, the erratic amplifier, the engine of sudden, unpredictable change. When Uranus hits the foundation of Taurus, the code of material predictability is violently overwritten. The ground becomes fluid. The vault becomes a trap. Look at the mechanics of the unawakened node during this transit. A banking app crashes, and their funds are temporarily inaccessible. A sudden, massive expense, a medical emergency, a car failure, a structural collapse detonates on their ledger. Their ego panics. They mistake the physical environment for their actual self. They jump into the chaos, trying to fix the unfixable, trying to predict the unpredictable, trying to negotiate with gravity as the floor falls away. They are bleeding out their core capital on useless friction. This is exactly what the August 25th algorithm is designed to punish. It forces you to overvalue the mundane. Every time you reach out to stabilize a falling physical structure today, every time you emotionally react to a loss of material capital, every time you panic about a sudden expense, you are injecting a massive kinetic leak directly into your operating system. You are taking the dense, heavy, highly compressed blue core energy of your empire and using it to subsidize a decaying structure that the Matrix has already authorized for demolition. The unawakened believe they are saving their life. In esoteric physics, they are just paying the Matrix to watch them burn. You must understand that the failures, the crashes, and the sudden expenses presented to your mind today are not glitches. They are highly calculated immune responses. The system is naturally attempting to purge outdated physical code. The swarm knows that if they can panic you with a material loss, they can siphon your energy indefinitely. A sovereign architect does not argue with tectonic plates. They simply become heavy. The threshold of the Moon-Uranus conjunction has been crossed. The most terrifying force in the universe is not the screaming dictator who uses violence to force submission. The most terrifying force in the universe is the sovereign who stands in a dark room, watches the walls of their physical reality crumble, feels absolutely zero biological panic, and coldly observes the entropy without moving a single muscle to intervene. When the Matrix deploys the illusion of the sudden crisis today, your only viable geometric maneuver is the protocol of seismic isolation. You must execute a total eradication of the savior complex in your business architecture and your social perimeter. You must look at the glitching bank accounts, the sudden expenses, the complaining partners, and the collapsing routines, and you must completely disconnect your kinetic response. The Moon-Uranus algorithm demands a thermodynamic detonation of your boundaries. When the unawakened swarm begs you to join their panic, you must become unimaginably, terrifyingly still. Your biological ego will scream at you to move. It will tell you that if you do not strike while the iron is hot, you will lose the opportunity. It will tell you that giving up is a sign of weakness. It will whisper the ultimate lie of the unawakened. I can fix it if I hustle. This is the arrogance of the vaporized. In esoteric brutalism, true density is not achieved by your ability to repair trash. It is achieved by your absolute, terrifying willingness to let weak things die. When you drop your internal temperature to absolute zero and refuse to pick up the tools of repair, you force the flawed system to face its own lack of gravity. You stop the kinetic leak. You turn the red steam of panic back into heavy blue ice. When a toxic client suddenly cancels a contract today, you do not send an email trying to save the relationship. You delete the contact. When a surprise expense of $10,000 hits your ledger, you do not panic. You state the number and adjust your architecture. When your routine is violently disrupted by an external crisis, you do not try to force the old structure back into place. You stand in the silence. By refusing to move today, you are forcing the Matrix to recognize your ultimate authority over your own nervous system. You do not manage the crisis. You are the immovable object against which the crisis shatters. You win the audit by becoming absolutely, terrifyingly static. While the world exhausts itself acting as a life support system for a decaying matrix, the sovereign monolith locks the gaze and observes the thermodynamics of failure. This is your hidden esoteric law for August 25th. Because the Moon and Uranus are generating a massive artificial seismic anomaly in the celestial grid, the universe is providing you with the ultimate architectural permission to execute a massive thermodynamic audit. You cannot build a generational monolith if you are constantly pouring your heavy capital into a structure that has termites in the basement. This is not a day for maintenance. This is a day for the high-voltage incinerator. You must look at your internal state and the ledger of your operations. Where are you still relying on material certainty? Which environments or contracts make you feel a biological need to run and hustle just to keep them alive? Which systems in your business are held together by the cheap tape of, "It's better than nothing"? Understand this absolute physical law. If it collapses today, it was built on garbage. If it falls, it was doomed. If it is destroyed, it lacked gravity. The unawakened are terrified of this absolute stasis because they confuse movement with survival. They believe that if they are not surrounded by a buzzing network, even a toxic one, they do not exist. There is a moment of terrifying, freezing silence when you stand still as a partnership dissolves. There is no external validation when you refuse to play the victim. But the sovereign architect knows that the true heavy gold is only accumulated in the absolute zero-point vacuum of the boundary. By halting your backward compatibility today, you are actively purifying your grid. You are forcing the chaotic, human energy of your environment to be replaced by cold, solid, indestructible mathematical law. You are taking the raw, revolutionary gravity of the Aquarius full moon from earlier in Phase 2 and weaponizing it into a flawless operating system made of blue ice. Let the swarm think you have become passive. Let them think you are unreachable. You are not unreachable. You are simply operating on a frequency their broken machines cannot detect. The glitch is terminated. The urge to move is eradicated. The vault is locked. Now, we execute the final phase of the August 25th protocol. The Sovereign Architect does not fix the broken chat. The Sovereign Architect detonates the server. To weaponize the Aquarius full moon and permanently secure your absolute invulnerability during the high-voltage detonation of Phase 2, you must enforce these 3 structural mandates. Mandate 1, the Stand Still Mandate. For the entirety of this 24-hour cycle, you will not use a single kinetic resource to stabilize a falling external structure. If the unawakened swarm approaches you with a material crisis, a sudden expense, a broken contract, or an emotional demand, you will execute a hard stop. You will not move. You will not explain your inaction. You will present them with the cold, heavy concrete of your absolute stasis, forcing their chaos to die in the void. Mandate 2. The Embargo on Hope. Today, you will identify one specific, recurring problem in your business or personal grid that you have repeatedly tried to fix, manage, or heal. It is the process that constantly drains your capital. You will instantly sever your physical connection to this problem. You will not attempt one last negotiation. You will not offer an ultimatum. You will execute the severance with the cold, heavy finality of an iron blade dropping on a rotten cable. You will delete the file. You will fire the node. You will walk away from the wreckage. Mandate 3. The condensation into blue ice. When you have thrown the rotting system into the incinerator, you will experience a terrifying drop in external noise. The swarm will panic at your absence. You will not intervene. You will sit in the freezing, majestic silence of your flawless new architecture, and you will force yourself to experience the brutal, heavy peace of the vacuum. You will drop your internal temperature to absolute 0. If their systems crash without you, you will let them crash. You will not bleed your high voltage to restart a dead machine. You will let the silence crystallize into blue ice. The old grid is incinerated. The dead nodes are severed. The override is absolute. The void is your architecture. Let the swarm scream. You are the monolith. First, anchor the code. The chaotic, unawakened algorithm of the world is constantly trying to drag you back into the red loop of endless explanations, compromises, and low-frequency connections. It wants you exhausted, diluted, and weak. This channel is the only transmission providing the heavy, brutalist esoteric code required to maintain your absolute systemic dominance. Do not let your perimeter fail. Lock your mindset to the monolith. Second, isolate the nostalgic. You know another sovereign node who is currently bleeding their esoteric gravity, staying in toxic text threads, writing massive emails to people who hate them, or giving away their heavy capital in a desperate bid to be right. You know someone who is generating massive clouds of useless red fog to hide from the truth of their own wasted energy. Force them to witness the terrifying power of absolute 0 and the protocol of the cold shot. Elevate your circle by enforcing the discipline of the hard ultimatum. Third, lock the vault. The moment this transmission ends, you will not check the old chats. You will not see if the dead nodes miss you. You will close your screen. You will stand in the majestic, freezing silence of your own indestructible operating system, and you will let the entire universe shatter against the flawless, immovable mathematical precision of your unblinking, heavy concrete truth. Command the absolute, freezing beauty of your own heavy architecture.